Hurricane Barry behaved strangely and, in the end, did not match the forecasts. Was climate engineering a factor in the equation? What agendas might the climate engineers be carrying out? In regard to the first question asked, the answer is yes. Climate engineering played a major part in Barry's behavior. This recording, carried out by geoengineeringwatch.org over the course of the storm, clearly reveals radio frequency microwave transmission grids energizing in intervals that had an inarguable impact on Hurricane Barry. These transmissions manipulate the climate engineering particles that are saturating the atmosphere, which in turn manipulated Hurricane Barry. Next, in regard to likely climate engineering agendas. First, there is a massive and rapidly growing dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, perhaps the largest dead zone in the world. The toxic algae blooms in the Gulf of Mexico are having a catastrophic impact on all Gulf Coast tourism, fisheries, and thus commerce. Toxic algae blooms are also impacting inland waters. Superheating and stagnant seas are a major part of the rapidly worsening algae problem. The record warm sea surface temperatures should fuel powerful hurricane formation. But in spite of the favorable cyclone conditions, Hurricane Barry never effectively organized and developed the strength of a storm that these conditions should facilitate. Barry just churned up the Gulf of Mexico for an extended time, producing cloud cover for most of the Gulf before making landfall as a minimum category hurricane. Barry's surprising lack of wind speed development was certainly appreciated by the oil and gas industry with their unimaginably extensive oil infrastructure in the Gulf of Mexico. Remember and consider that the U.S. government hurricane manipulation operations were initiated over 70 years ago, starting with Project Storm Fury. The U.S. government currently denies that they are still engaged with hurricane modification operations. Do you believe them? Of course, mainstream sources provide the official narrative for Hurricane Barry's unorthodox behavior. Question: in the end, how did Barry's churning up of the Gulf help with the massive algae bloom? Answer: it likely made it worse overall, not better. Last but not least, Hurricane Barry was utilized for an atmospheric moisture pump in an ever more desperate attempt by the climate engineers to temporarily cool off the most populated parts of the U.S. In regard to the global climate engineering assault, temporary toxic cooldowns come at the cost of further fueling the overall planetary meltdown. In regard to Hurricane Barry, this headline is a case in point. Question: how long do the increasingly desperate engineered weather whiplash cooldown scenarios last for? Answer: not long, as this headline clearly indicates. What regions of the planet are the climate engineers most consistently trying to keep cool? The GISS departure from normal high temperature map shown is very revealing. This map shows a 5-year running average of surface temperatures from June 2014 to June 2019. The most anomalously less warm locations on the planet are the polar regions, the eastern half of the North American continent, which is the most populated portion of the US, and the area of Russia that includes Moscow in the center. Question: is it just a coincidence that the two countries that are by far the world's largest superpowers, with the world's largest military machines, are also the benefactors of the only two anomalously less warm habitable regions on the planet for the last 5 years running, each in locations where their capital cities are, even while the rest of the planet descends into total meltdown? Again, is this just chance or luck or coincidence? I'll leave that up to the listener to decide. Hurricane Barry was absolutely a heavily manipulated weather event. Further, at this point in time, after over 70 years of geoengineering, aka solar radiation management operations, the entire global climate system must be considered completely derailed. Governments around the globe have long since committed the human race and the entire web of life to an unimaginably massive experiment on planet Earth and its life support systems. an experiment from which there is no return. Geoengineering operations are not about mitigating global warming. They are not about the greater good. Climate engineering is ultimately about power and control, about masking the severity of what's unfolding from populations until the last possible moment. Climate engineering is nothing short of weather and biological warfare that serves the power structures behind nations all over the globe. Climate engineering is making an already horrific anthropogenically caused abrupt climate collapse far worse overall, not better. Geoengineering is the greatest and most immediate threat we collectively face short of nuclear cataclysm. All of us are needed to help wake the masses. Please, please don't sit this one out. Make your voice heard, share credible data from a credible source. See the homepage of geoengineeringwatch.org for detailed activist instructions on how you can help us to sound the alarm. This is Dane Wigington with geoengineeringwatch.org.